Hey everyone, John Quixote here. We're a couple hours away. We're only a couple of hours away from the live action One Piece release. I am absolutely terrified right now. I'm excited. I'm so excited because this has been something I've been waiting on for years. I feel like it was like 10 years ago when the idea of a live action One Piece first started floating around, and here we are 10 years later, and it's finally launching. And like I said, I'm excited. I'm really excited, but also because we all know the reputation of live action anime series. It's not good. So, to be 100% honest, I'm not expecting for 100% parody. Not parody, parity. You know, I'm not expecting it to be exactly the same. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for it to have that heart, that soul, to feel like One Piece. And in a few hours, we're going to see if they manage to do that. So I'm going to be staying up and watching it. And as soon as I'm done with the first episode, I'm going to be right back here. Let y'all know what I think. What was good, what was bad. So we're going to see how it is. I'm going to try to get this out as quickly as possible, so. But yeah. Fingers crossed. Alright, so it is 3 o'clock in the morning, and it has finally dropped. One Piece live action. Come on, damn it, phone. Focus!
You're too scrawny to be rubbing nose.
Yeah. But
Never heard of it.
we have access to all 8 episodes. But we're only going to watch the first one tonight. Because we're going to do these one at a time. But I'm ready to get started, so let's jump in there. And let's have some fun. Hopefully it's going to be good. Okay, so just finished watching the One Piece live action, and it was pretty good. At least the first episode. The first episode. I haven't seen anything else because it is currently like 4:30 in the morning. And I just finally finished watching the first episode. And I need to get some sleep at some point. But first, I want to get through this because I've got a lot to say. I've got a lot to talk about on this. First off, if you've never seen One Piece before, you're going to love this. There are a few things that are a little wonky, but like, you're going to love this. This has the heart of One Piece. Like, this is what I needed from it. You're not going to get one-to-one. I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to get one-to-one, and if you're looking for that, you're going to be sorely disappointed. You're going to be very disappointed because it hits a lot of those beats, but it's changed things up quite a bit. But the heart is there. The through line is there. Now, there are some issues that we're going to talk about, but I think this was a wonderful start. And I'm not going to say with full certainty that, the whole live action anime curse has been broken yet, because we got 7 more episodes to get through before I can even contemplate that. But yeah, I think we're off to a good start with this. Alright, so let's start off with the opening. The opening where they introduce us to One Piece with Gold D. Roger. And I have the So that whole sequence was pretty good. The only real complaints I had in there was we'll get to in a second. But the building up, they did a great job of actually portraying a live action sequence of Roger's execution, and the fact that they hid Roger's bounty. Though I'm trying to remember at this point, did they actually say Gold D. Roger on the wanted poster, or was it Gold Roger? I didn't pay that attention. I paid attention to the fact that they actually did not display the bounty on the poster this early, even though we know what it is already. And that they have a wanted poster with the bounty on it already. But that being said, if you don't pay attention to that sort of material, that's still kept a secret for you. But they built up the whole sequence with the narration, then going into Gold Roger's execution and him kind of palling around with Garp. Even Garp's taking the whole situation seriously. And Roger, of course, is just being Roger. And, you know, he knows what he's doing. And he's waiting. He's biding his time. There was even a statement of, any last words, Roger? And he, what did he say? I mean, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he kind of joked around with, you know, you're kind of expecting him to give his speech at that point. But, I mean, if you've read One Piece, you know, that's not how he gives his proclamation of, you know, you want my treasure, go out and find it. He waits for someone in the crowd to initiate it. And that's when he gives the, you want my treasure, you can have it. I mean, it's not the exact same phrasing, but it serves the same exact purpose and has the same exact impact, which I can't say for everything that was done in here. There were some things, not with the execution scene, but later on, things that were said that don't have the same impact as in the manga or in the anime, which I think might be nitpicking a little bit, but we'll discuss that when we get to it. But we also got to see some other faces in the crowd, ones that we didn't get to spot in the trailers. For instance, the only one we really, I think, kind of could get an idea of was Dragon, which I missed the first time, and I mean, I didn't even notice it until someone pointed it out to me in the comments, so thank you so much for that. Actually, a couple of y'all did, so thank y'all. But we also got a good look at young Mihawk, which once looks spectacular. Then we got young Shanks, who, I'm not gonna lie, young Shanks looked goofy. He looked goofy. He looked like someone who trying to play cosplay as Shanks, but doesn't look right for the role of cosplaying Shanks. And that's not to, you know, cosplay shame anyone who tries to cosplay as someone they don't look like. It's just, that's kind of what it looked like. It looked like someone who was trying to play as Shanks who didn't really look like Shanks. I mean, it is what it is, but I kind of laughed. When I saw that. I had to do a double take on that. And then Smoker, and I'm kind of we saw Smoker in the crowd, and this was also confirmed in the credits because they had Smoker listed in the credits. He looked all right, maybe a little bit on the goofier side. Like I think it was the hair. I think it was the hair that did it for me on that. Like, I think the clothes looked nice, but the blonde big hair compared to his more, I mean, his hair is usually pretty well coiffed, but it's not usually to the height it was displayed there. So I mean, that was kind of goofy, but I mean, it for the most part it was pretty decent. And then from there we jump into the scene where Luffy is basically giving his exposition of wanting to be the pirate king, and his plans on getting 10 people and 1 bird. That wasn't in the regular series, but since he's talking to a bird, it's revealed that, you know, which we saw in the trailer, that he's talking to the news coup. So he's giving all this exposition to the news coup. So it kind of makes sense. It's within Luffy's character. It's maybe it wasn't the best way to go about it, but it is a serviceable way of going about it. Because, I mean, people who are coming into this who don't know what One Piece is, who've never experienced it before, they kind of need all this to get us going to where we need to go. Now, the main issue I do have with this scene is I feel like they gave away too much information. And not in the way you necessarily expect. It has more to do with the theming of how Luffy ends up on Alvida's ship. Because when Luffy's talking to the news crew, he's bailing out water from his little ship. He's taking on water. His ship is sinking. And then they literally show you him getting in the barrel that's on the ship with him, and then floating over to Alvida's. I really kind of wish they just kind of cut from where he's bailing out the water, because you see the barrel on the ship. That should be more than enough foreshadowing of why he's in the barrel on Alvida's ship, and letting that kind of be somewhat surprised of him busting out of the barrel. Kind of like in the anime and the manga when we first get introduced to Luffy. So I feel like they should just showed him, bailing out the water, his ship actually just fully going down, and then just cutting over to Alvida's ship, leaving, Luffy's circumstances a mystery for the short amount of time. I just feel like that would have a better impact of the whole busting out of the barrel scene. Because with this, it just kind of just telegraphs the whole thing, and maybe they weren't wanting to do that as kind of like a little surprise. Honestly, it was kind of sorely missed. Now we're going to talk about like Alvida's introduction, because she doesn't stick around long here. Honestly, understandably so, but they introduce her very well as far as being a first antagonist. Even though she doesn't stick around very long, it still kind of introduces how things work pretty decently. We get to see her in action. She actually ends up using several clubs and maces, because her epithet in the manga was Iron Club Alvida, but I think in here they called her Iron Mace Alvida, and you see her with multiple maces, and then finally with her signature Iron Club, which I'm really glad they gave her that. Because I was kind of disappointed when I saw her just wielding a average looking mace in the trailer. But no, she starts off with the average looking mace. Then they give her kind of like an ornate mace after that, which was kind of cool. And I was like, wait, what's going on? Wait, I thought her mace was, whatever. Maybe I just missaw that. But then whenever she went through the third one, because I also had questions of why would she let Koby handle her mace? Even if it was to wash it and clean it, why would she let him touch it? But then with it being her having multiple maces and clubs, it makes sense. It kind of explained things a little bit more. So what originally was kind of like a just a little awkward, weird thing, made a lot more sense whenever they showed that, she's just using multiple weapons. But really what I kind of found peculiar about Alvida was the fact that she was looking for Zoro. Why was she actively looking for Zoro? Because originally she was like, there's someone aboard the ship. Could it be the pirate hunter Zoro? Like, she was a little bit worried about that. But it wasn't like she was actively seeking him out. And it doesn't make sense why she would be actively seeking him out. Even if she thinks he's coming after her, why would she take the search to him? To me, that just seemed kind of weird and awkward. But overall, other than that, love Alvida's portrayal. They did a really good job of portraying her kind of a conceit / easy to anger nature. And then the fight that we get to see between Alvida and Luffy, and as well as some of the other things, and that really kind of gave us a better look at like the Gumma Gumma Nomi powers. And some of the effects look kind of wonky. There's no easy way of saying it. Some of them they're noticeably kind of awkward. But others, like smaller effects, like when he gets shot in the chest and the bullet bounces in and shoots back out, that looked decent. When he got hit in the head by the mace and it bounced back off, that looked pretty good too. So some of the smaller effects, even later on when he's like stretching his cheek, don't look bad. It's like some of the just stretching though looks kind of awkward when it's like the arms and legs. Sometimes it kind of smooths in nicely with the rest of the action that's going on. But if it's done by itself, it is very noticeably awkward. But I will note that a lot of the impacts caused by the attacks, like whenever he actually does finally, wallop Alvida with the punch, the actual impact and the knockback and all the effects from that look spectacular. I really enjoyed the interactions between Koby and Luffy. Those were really, really nice, really well done. They did a really great job with Koby. They got probably the perfect person to play Koby. That's spot on. And the way that Koby and Luffy interact is really well and really well portrayed. And the interactions between the two mesh really well when compared to like the anime and manga and the live action. Like, it's not, once again, it's not exactly the same, but the heart, the through line, it's there. It works. It works really well. And while Koby and Luffy are talking, of course, we get some of the flashbacks. Now, the flashbacks get cut up into several different parts. Like, you don't get all of the flashback in one go. In fact, we didn't even get all the flashback in this episode. So there's going to be more coming, and who knows, maybe we'll get the rest of it in the next episode, or they might even stretch it out further amongst the other episodes too. Now, the flashbacks themselves are kind of a mixed bag for me. Because there are things in there I really liked, and other things that I felt kind of neglected aspects of the original series. But first things first, let's talk about some of the characters that we see in the flashback. And, you know, what my opinion is. One, Shanks has grown on me. Before, when I saw the trailer, I thought Shanks looked kind of like, you know, not quite there. But this Shanks, I can tolerate. I can live with this. We also got to see Yasop and Lucky Roo and Higuma, and those three I think looked pretty spot on. They looked they sold the characterization of them pretty well. Ben Beckman, on the other hand, what did y'all do to Ben Beckman? Now, they didn't state him by name, but I'm pretty sure who they displayed up there talking to Shanks in that first flashback was supposed to be Ben Beckman. And if it was, why did y'all do that to him? Granted, I'm a little bit biased here because Ben Beckman is like my third favorite character in the whole series. I mean, he has one of the most badass scenes in the whole series, which you don't get to see yet in this episode because it's going to be in one of the later episodes. Hopefully they don't cut that scene. You know which one I'm talking about. But, you know, but Ben Beckman, he's supposed to be this really suave, manly, sleek character, and they kind of made him look like a middle-aged old man. I mean, even when he becomes an old man or older man, he still looked good. He still looked good. But this guy kind of, and I apologize to the person playing him, kind of looked frumpy. How could y'all do this to Ben Beckman? Come on. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, they were playing Bink Sake in the back. That was one of the first things I noticed, and I noticed it so much that I had to write it down real quick to make note of it, because I knew I was going to forget if I did it. So I had to end up rewinding it back so I could actually focus on the scene since I was too busy writing down first. But I did have issues with the whole devil fruit scene. That whole entire part of the flashback, I had several different issues with that. The first one being when Luffy ate the Goma Goma Nomi. I mean, the whole thing with the devil fruits is supposed to be that they're absolutely disgusting, nasty, terrible tasting. And I mean, why can't you keep that in the show? I don't see why that would have been a thing to change. It really makes no sense why you would change that. I mean, they should just have him take one bite, be like, this thing is disgusting. You know, throw it back in the box. I mean, you could still have the whole reveal and everything afterwards. But to show him just pretty much eating the whole thing, if y'all bring up later that devil fruits are supposed to be nasty, you just kind of ruined the whole thing. Because, I mean, he didn't show like there was any issue with eating it in its entirety. And then right after that, the next issue I had was pretty much right after that with the Hikima the bear scene. It started off really nice, really well with him smashing the bottle, Shanks, you know, mopping it up, cleaning it up, acting like it was no big deal, not acknowledging the threats and everything. My issue really does come with them taking out Hikima, like literally causing physical violence to Shanks by smashing his head through the counter. They removed that. They just had him knock some more stuff off the countertop. And it doesn't hold the same weight. It doesn't hold the same consequences and message like it does in the manga, where, you know, his head actually gets slammed into the counter, but he doesn't do anything. That whole situation is probably one of the most powerful messages in early One Piece. You can throw drinks on me, you can throw food at me, you could probably even spit on me. I'll just laugh that stuff off. But, good reason or not, no one hurts a friend of mine. That is something I've literally adopted into my core personality of how I treat my relationships. And to see it kind of given this weak response, really kind of... I really didn't like that. I mean, it's not something that ruins the entire episode. It's something that I personally really wish they had stuck more to the main source material for. Even though they got close, I feel like they should have gone all the way on that specific aspect. But once again, I might be a little too biased in that. The final issue I kind of have with that scene is where Shanks found out Luffy ate the Gomu Gomu Nomi. It wasn't like this shock to, you ate the Gomu Gomu Nomi! You ate a devil fruit! It was more of like a disappointed dad of, oh no, you didn't, Luffy. Oh no. Because that whole situation warranted more of a shock and less of a disappointment. In my opinion, yes. But it just felt off where it was just like, oh, Luffy, no, you didn't. It didn't feel like it got the heart of the issue through there. For the most part, I feel like this episode got that through line, the heart of the series in there. So these are more nitpicks than anything, but still, it's one of those things where it felt off. It felt like it didn't feel appropriate for the scene. All right, so now let's talk about Zoro's introduction. Perfect. This was immaculate. It was great. It was not in the series. In fact, it's only something that was hinted at in the series, and that is Zoro's encounter with Mr. 7, which we saw Mr. 7 in the teaser, in the trailer. We didn't know who he was. I thought maybe it was Koby, maybe. I mean, I was completely wrong in that. In fact, we see Koby later on in this episode. But no, it was Mr. 7 and Zoro's interaction with Mr. 7. Because in the manga, all we ever got was that Zoro, when, you know, they were actually going after Baroque Works, him mentioning the fact that, oh yeah, I encountered this guy, Mr. 7. He asked me to join Baroque Works. I told him, nah. I told him, only if y'all make me the leader will I join. And he didn't like that, so I killed him, essentially. So we only heard it in like Zoro exposition in the manga. This actually gave us the fight scene that we kind of didn't get in the manga. So that's kind of like a bonus. That's really nice. However, and this could be just a coincidence, but I'm pretty sure they knew what they were doing by making Mr. 7 black. Y'all know what y'all were doing. But overall, it was amazing, and to see what he could do with only 2 swords fighting Mr. 7. I mean, the whole thing was so clean and so wonderfully done. Well choreographed. And the fact that, I mean, this pretty much cements that if we get a season 2, that they're leading into the Baroque Works. Because I want to see Crocodile. I want to see my boy Croco. I want to see Croco boy. I want to see him in there. He is my favorite character in One Piece. I want to see the live adaptation of Crocodile on the screen. So badly. And this is giving me hopes that we'll see that. So much. So now let's go into Nami's introduction, which was also pretty good. I mean, it was on point. It was a lot shorter than what we saw with Zoro, but it was pretty close to the exact same how we were kind of introduced to Nami and her tricksy ways in the manga. I mean, not exactly the same, but it's pretty identical. I've really warmed up to this Nami. After watching this episode, I've really warmed up to, because I really had my qualms, my issues, my concerns with Nami in the teasers, in the trailers. I like this Nami. So after the Zoro and Nami introductions, we get to Shell Town. First thing I just kind of want to mention is that there was another poster in there besides the ones that we noticed in the teaser. Behind the Buggy poster, now it looked like there was one in the trailer that I was trying to figure out who it was because it looked like it was different from all the others, but there wasn't enough information there to actually really figure out who it was. But in here, we can actually see it's Django. They have Django's bounty poster up there. So that was really cool and nice to see. And especially since I haven't seen what Django looks like yet, kind of get a little bit of idea of how they're going to be portraying him in this, because you get to see a little bit of his picture in there. Now, things are done a lot differently in Shellstown. We still get everything that we kind of need from it. There's a couple things that are a little questionable, but once again, the heart of it is all there. The heart of everything is there, even though the story is being told slightly differently. Because here we have Zoro, Nami, and Luffy all in the bar at Shellstown at the same time. And the whole Helmeppo situation hasn't occurred yet. But we see, we have Zoro dragging in Mr. Seven's dead body so he can take it into the Marines to get his reward. Nami's trying to schmooze over Marines for what we later find out is to essentially steal a Marine's uniform so she can sneak into the base. And I can't really remember what Luffy was doing at this time besides being there and with Koby. He was trying to figure out how to get into the base so he could steal a map for to get to the Grand Line. And then they introduce Helmeppo. Now, Helmeppo, they did a wonderful job with Helmeppo. He is a downright twat. They have him played perfectly. Like, I couldn't have been any happier with how they portrayed Helmeppo and all this. Even though they're doing things a little weird and wonky, the portrayal of Helmeppo is just spot on and perfect. And the interactions between him and Zoro, just, so great. I mean, Helmeppo literally makes a snide comment about, "Oh, I've got one sword, you've got three. I'm good enough to only have to use one." And then Zoro proceeds to not use any swords to beat the crap out of Helmeppo and several Marines. It's just, so good. And of course, during all this chaos, Nami knocks out the Marine that she's flirting with so she can go steal his uniform so she can go sneak in base at this time. And Luffy, of course, is seeing this all this interaction and is like, this Zoro seems like he's a pretty good dude, and he can fight. Oh, and also, when Zoro first rolls up to the bar, we get our first look at Koby. Koby is sitting right next to him at the bar, but then quickly gets up and leaves. But now let's talk about Axe-Hand Morgan, because at first I was very well impressed with how they pulled off Axe-Hand. I mean, he looks intimidating. He's very conceited, but something I kind of realized in the whole process of it, they don't have him quite as narcissistic. I mean, yeah, he's still, like I said, very conceited, very self-important. But he isn't portrayed as this kind of psychotic, narcissistic asshole that all the Marines that serve under him are terrified of as being a tyrant. Is he still conceited? Yes. But he's not outright abusing, aside from one scene we get where he smacks Helmeppo with his axe, which is, similar to in the manga. That's the only time we really see him strike out against his, subordinates. Other than that, he just seems like he's a very, self-important character. Like, he believes he is great, but not in a way to where it's like, all others are beneath me. But speaking of Axe-Hand Morgan, his base looked really amazing. Actually, all the freaking set pieces look really good. Everything looks wonderful. It looks lived in. It looks immaculate. It really gives you the sense of belonging in this world. But the Marine base is where we get our first interactions between Luffy and Zoro and Luffy and Nami. The interaction between Luffy and Zoro initially was kind of weak, in my opinion. Like, the whole situation of him being tied to the post, it all seemed like with the way they were telling the story, it almost seemed superfluous. I mean, it's needed in order to give, Zoro the impression that, hey, this dude here isn't that bad. I mean, he's letting me go for these reasons. But Zoro not wanting to stick around to fulfill his end of the deal just because Helmeppo says, oh, Daddy won't let you leave here alive even if you make it the 7 days, it doesn't land as well. Helmeppo does not like Zoro. Why would he be telling him the truth? Why would he not just be antagonizing him for the sake of antagonizing him? And we're given no reason to believe that Captain Morgan wouldn't uphold his end of the bargain. At least this version of Captain Axehand Morgan. In the manga, yeah, no. There's no reason why you would expect Captain Axehand Morgan to uphold his end of the bargain. This one, I don't see why he wouldn't. I mean, we don't get that impression of him in the live action. So it's just, to me, like, this might be more of a nitpick, but it didn't feel right. But the way it shows how Luffy is a good person in Zoro's eyes does make sense. Where it was like, I mean, even if you don't want to join my crew, I mean, it seems like you still have something out there you're going for. So even if you're not going to help me, I don't see why I shouldn't let you free anyways. That works. It really does. But Luffy's interactions with Nami, on the other hand, that whole sequence, that was no complaints. No complaints whatsoever on that. There were just fun interactions where, you know, Nami is pretending to be a Marine officer in front of Captain Axehand Morgan, pretending Luffy is a prisoner and that she had just transferred over there because he didn't recognize her. Well, because I wanted to serve, you know, I asked for a transfer because I want to serve under you, and of course that feeds his ego, because once again, they do display this Morgans as being conceited. Not wholly narcissistic, you know, psychotically narcissistic, but still conceited. So, you know, that played to his ego, and to where I was like, okay, I'll believe that. And then Luffy being like, see, we make a pretty good team, and, you know, we know how it's going to play out. But Nami is dead set on, no, we're not going to be a team. And the big battle with the Marines and Captain Axehand Morgan was really good. Was really good. Like, the action was great. There were a couple of weird action sequences, but for the most part, like, overshadowed by great action sequences. And the only point of that fight that really kind of caught me rewatching it a couple times to figure out what exactly was going on is when Zoro stopped Luffy, basically saying, this is my fight, I'm fighting him. He's holding his own with only 2 swords, but then Luffy kind of just jumps in there and kicks Zoro out of the way and knocks Morgan's back. There was nothing telegraphed there like that Morgan's was about to hit Zoro. Something about that just didn't feel right. You know what I'm saying? It didn't seem like there was a purpose for him doing it, because right after that he goes in there and pulls Zoro out of the way. It's almost like he created a situation that didn't need to be created in the first place. Like, it seemed unnecessary, and why did Luffy... It doesn't make sense why Luffy did that. Like, even with Luffy being Luffy, that it didn't make sense. And then right after that, Zoro doing the whole putting the sword in his mouth, finally getting to see that scene. Luffy making a funny joke, because earlier, you know, Luffy was, well, I wonder where he puts that 3rd sword. And we all know where Luffy is assuming Zoro, you know, holds, you know, the 3rd sword. At least that's what I'm imagining Luffy's thinking Zoro's holding the 3rd sword with. So him saying, oh, so that's where you hold it. That was really fun. Then right after that, where he goes in to attack Axehand Morgan with the 3-sword style, I was kind of hoping that there would be a couple more clashes before the instant knockback of Morgan. That looked really weird, where it was just like 3 swords and then all of a sudden, boom, Axehand Morgan goes flying. It seemed really kind of weird and awkward. But then everything after that, where they finish off Axehand Morgan with Zoro and Luffy teaming up for, you know, their combination attacks, to keep Morgan's on the rope. All those land really well. And so now we have the beginnings of the Straw Hat crew, even though they're not officially a crew yet, and Zoro still hasn't agreed to be a part of Luffy's crew. At this point in the manga, Zoro was officially a crew member of Luffy. But right at this point, it seems like both Zoro and Nami are still basically individualistic. They're not seeing themselves as part of the crew. They just happen to be together at the moment. Then when Helmeppo comes up and we get the hair gag where we see him with his trademark hair, the way they used that as a gag was wonderful. It was so good. It was so good. Actually, all the gags that they did with Helmeppo might have been the best part of this first episode. Because they just did such a great job of making him so smarmy and so conceited and narcissistic and such a twat. But this also leads to an issue that I'm not sure how they resolve with Koby. Because Koby then comes and whacks Helmeppo with an oar and sends the Straw Hat crew off on their way, saying, "No, I'm going to stay here and become a Marine." How is this going to work? You just assaulted the Marine captain's son, and you didn't do any of the things that you normally did in the situations. Why would they let you become a Marine after you assaulted the Marine captain's son? And how is this going to work for the future with Helmeppo and Koby? You know, spoiler warnings if you don't know anything about One Piece. How is this going to lead them onto Garp's ship? Because this is why it kind of brings up the issue with, like, you know, Captain Axehand Morgan's not being quite the asshole that he was in the manga. Because, you know, he kind of goes AWOL and kind of becomes a fugitive himself. Using Helmeppo as, you know, a human shield to get away, and Koby jumping in to save him, and then Garp adopting both of them as his apprentices to, you know, personally train. How is all that going to work? I can't see it logically working with the way they set it up at the end like that. I mean, I'm hoping that we get a good explanation. Because right now it's just I'm not conceiving of a good way for them to go about that. And I'm not sure which scenes we got after that first. I can't remember if we got the Garp or the Buggy. So we're going to go with the Garp first, because then we see Garp on his ship. And of course, he's getting news of the Straw Hat Pirates, and we see the Den Mushi, and we saw the Den Mushi a couple of times throughout this. We saw, like, Captain Axehand Morgan's Den Mushi, and then we also saw Garp speaking on the Den Mushi as kind of like the loudspeaker version back at Roger's execution. But I really like the Den Mushi. I want one. I need one. But of course, Garp is learning about the Straw Hats, and if you don't know, I'm not going to say it here, because I don't know how many people have not watched One Piece, so I don't want to spoil certain things if you don't know. Garp gets notification of the Straw Hats in Shell Town causing a ruckus and stealing a safe, and we see Bogart. He talks to Bogart. Bogart confirmed. Oh, and I can't believe I forgot about this, but Bogart also mentions the fact that they were investigating Baroque works, which is completely different from the manga, because Baroque Works was a secret organization that people didn't really know about. But once again, it kind of confirms, you know, season 2, come on. Give me Crocodile! But I think that scene happened before we then cut over to the circus, and we see Koby once again in the spotlight, talking to Buggy about, I'm sorry, I know I was there to steal the map to the Grand Line, but they stole it first. And then we get the grand reveal of Buggy, and I love the way that he played around with because they introduced, like, the pirates with their wanted poster and their bounties, and it's kind of like just an effect that comes on screen where it waves in, displays the bounty and then like waves off. Actually, I'm not sure how it worked with how they did it with Alvida. I don't remember what they did with. I want to say with Rogers, it just kind of blew away again. I can't remember how they did it with Alvida's, but Buggy, he just reaches up there, tears it away, and throws it aside essentially as he comes in menacingly, essentially saying, "Well, we're going to get that map back from them because that map belongs to me." But overall, wonderful. This episode was great. This episode was what we needed. And there are going to be a lot of people who are probably going to view this and say, this is horrible. This is garbage. This is not One Piece. But we're never going to get, like, you know, that one-to-one parody. They have to make changes. But the important thing is it feels like One Piece. It feels like a retelling, a different story of One Piece. But it feels like One Piece. Are there things that I wish they would have done better? Of course, yes. There are things that I think that they should have taken into account, but they're more nitpicks and little gripes than anything. They have the heart. This has the heart of One Piece. If they keep it up through the rest of the episodes, I think this very well could break the live action curse. In the end, that's just my opinion. And we've still got 7 more episodes to go. But you know, I'm going to try to get some sleep first because it's 6:04 in the morning right now. And I still got to get this edited so I can get it up as fast as possible so I can get views. But I do plan on watching the rest of them and see by the end of this if maybe we actually do have a good live action anime series. So let me know what your thoughts are down there. If you've seen the episode, what did you think? What are your opinions on it? Does the live action hold up to your expectations? Do they surpass it, or has it let you down? I really want to know. Let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed whatever it is I did here. I feel like I just kind of rambled. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. Hit the dislike button if you didn't like it. And also, if you want to see more of this kind of content, hit that subscribe. I do other stuff too. I play video games. I'm also reacting to Hell of a Boss right now. I plan on doing more stuff in the future. Maybe doing the manga reviews as well. Maybe. I don't know. Also trying to work on concepts for more in-depth looks at things that are more scripted and not just off the cuff like this. Yeah, so if you're interested in any of that, hit that subscribe button down there, and also ring the notification bell if you want to be notified when those things drop. So yeah, but until then, I hope you have a wonderful day and or night, and hope to see you in the next video, where I don't know what the next video is necessarily going to be because I'm trying to do a lot right now. So, yeah. Bye!